Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other, and today's episode is Deathnote Live Action Episode 5. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of the key points that happened in this episode. So we pick up where the last episode left off with Misa arriving at Light's house and going into his room. Sayu feeds them snacks, and Misa continues to speak in code because Sayu is present, but once Sayu leaves, then she starts to almost reveal that she thinks Light is Kira, but of course he's in a full panic because he knows that there are listening devices and cameras planted in his room, so he then, outside of view of the cameras, makes it look to the cameras like he's kissing her, but instead whispers in her ear to meet him outside and to slap him before leaving. So she does so, and then they meet under a bridge, and that's where he reveals that he's under surveillance. She thinks that's cool. She reveals she's the second Kira. He kind of scolds her for sending the note because Elle is processing them and doesn't think that she understands fully the danger, and she suggests that they start dating in order to make it less suspicious that she's randomly hanging out with him because she's minorly like a celebrity. And he decides that is a good enough excuse, and so agrees to date her. But he does warn her that should she be caught, he will write her name down, and she agrees that that is okay to do, and in fact almost romantic. Meanwhile, Light is also invited to the headquarters because of the letter that Misa sent in the last episode, and Elle basically asks Light to write the letter from Kira's perspective while at headquarters after Light also comes to the conclusion that there is a second Kira, and he does so before then meeting up with Misa again to give her another response letter. And because he wants to use her eyes to kill Elle, they come up with a plan to get Elle out of headquarters, and so Light does invite him to an Ichigo Berry concert, which Elle does attend. However, the plans do not come to fruition because, despite being warned, Misa on her second letter did leave a fingerprint, and she does get arrested before the concert begins. However, Light also was planning to stand next to Elle and finds that there's quite a few people dressed like Elle at the concert, which Elle says is something that he does regularly when he leaves. He has stand-ins, and then they discuss what Kira would or would not have done if Light was Kira while they wait for Ichigo Berry to perform, and then basically Light's world comes crashing down because Misa was arrested off screen before the concert started, and it's only her two other bandmates that are performing, and Elle basically lets him know that Misa has been arrested, and based on what she says about the real Kira, it'll either remove the 1% remaining suspicion or bump it all the way up to 100%. He leaves, Light falls to his knees, and that's where we end this episode. So now that we've been reminded about the episode, we'll now rank the episode, and as always, we're going to be ranking on our mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. So, to start with, we do have a few different multi-episode main character developments. There's Light and Misa agreeing to date as a cover for their spending time together. We have Light's first visit to the headquarters, where he joins the Kira investigation. We have Elle attending an Ichigo Berry concert. And then Misa's fingerprint being found and getting arrested. The arrest happens off screen, though at the end of the episode we do see her in the the metal blindfold and the all tied up so she can't move or do anything situation that she ends up in. So that's 4 times 4 which is, I'm so bad at math, but 16 points so far. Then we do have a couple pieces of world building as well, which is another couple 4 points. One is that we learn from Misa explaining to Light that those who make the Shinigami ideals can't see the lifespan of fellow owners of Death Notes, which is how she identified him as Kira. And we learn from Rem, who tells Jealous's story, how to kill Shinigami, and that is, of course, if a Shinigami saves someone, because they are creatures meant to shorten and take, to give is deadly to them, and so Jealous died. And then we do also have one negative, which is the negative messaging or behavior, which is -2 points. And this just has to do with Misa's overall toxicity when it comes to her obsession with Light. There is a point where he talks about how, and this he said it went for him too, but if one of them was captured and he thought for a moment that she might give him up, that he was going to write her name down in the notebook. And she says that that would be very romantic and that Light can definitely kill her. And I'm just sitting there like, that is not romantic. Somebody killing you is not romantic. That is a very, very, very bad viewpoint. I mean, it's almost funny with how terrible of a take it is, but ultimately, I'm giving it -2 points because it's just absurd that somebody killing you to avoid getting caught themselves is a romantic gesture is it's absurd. It's not, it's toxic. It's toxic. It's very toxic. So I did take the 2 points for that, but that still leaves us with 22, which makes this once again a 10 out of 10 episode. We're on a bit of a streak, and that makes sense because just objectively, I do think that this drama is the best adaptation of Death Note by far. So, obviously, when more than one episode has the same score on our mostly objective ranking, we just rank in episode order. And since everything has been a 10, our order is still 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is in 5th place. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking so far, I thought that this was once again a very good episode. I do really like the live action, like this version of Death Note. Like I said, I mean, the scores may tell a different story, though I'm optimistic that it won't. But just in general, I do think that this is the best adaptation of Death Note by far, because any change that they've made has been beneficial to the overall story, which is very rare in adaptations, and I really, really enjoy the casting and the portrayals of the characters and their interactions. I just think that it is really phenomenal. But that being said, I liked a lot of this episode. I enjoyed the tension being built with the, will Misa give Light away? The little ruse that they did with like the slapping, the deciding to date as a cover for interacting, even though in this one at least Light one willingly chooses to date and doesn't even call it pretend, which is an improvement, and number two, he already was a fan of hers, so it's not that out there that he would be potentially dating her. Um, every fan's dream, I would imagine, to anybody who is into the celebrity thing. Um, then there is, of course, him joining the investigation, which is a big milestone in the series. So that's entertaining. Him and Elle, having their back and forth about Elle presuming what Kira would do, Light saying, oh, if I was Kira, I actually wouldn't do that. Light being once again told that he's Elle's first and best friend, and Elle actually going to the concert, turning things around on Light's depression, Misa being arrested. All of that was very entertaining, but also there were some points in between each of the actions where it was a little bit slow. And additionally, like I said, Misa is very toxic. Just that like the idea that you would be okay with somebody killing you and actually think it was romantic is blowing my mind, genuinely blowing my mind, because I could never. As a bit of a narcissist, I value myself so highly, I would never. So it blows my mind that she said that, but it's also so bad that you kind of have to laugh at it. And so even then, it adds to the entertainment value. But because of those slow bits in between each of the milestone or the major actions of the episode, I did decide to give it a 9 out of 10 rather than a full 10, which brings the personal ranking list to in first 4, then 1. This episode 5 is in third place, and then we have episode 3 and episode 2 in last place so far. Which now brings us to the series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking, we had Anime Part 1 in first place with 70.77%, Anime Part 2 in second with 51.82%. The live action currently has a perfect score of 50 out of 110 so far. Personal ranking Part 1 ended with 60.38%, Part 2 of the anime with 49.09%, and our live action so far has a score of 44 out of a possible 110. So with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Deathnote Live Action Episode 5. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.